there are lots of episodes in this feed about, grief space and like the importance of doing, like holding space for that, not moving past emotion so quickly into problem solving mode. But, when you have maybe 2 hours or 2 days till infection takes over, your calculations about like what you're going to do is going to be different. And, I love what Riley says, right? 2 options, easy way out, or we keep going, right? And Ellie comes back with like, what are you talking about, Riley? It's over. And Riley comes back with, it will be, right? But not yet. It ends this way for everyone sooner or later, right? Some of us just get there faster than others, but we don't quit. That was definitely the line of the episode for me, because while neither you or I are bitten by mushroom zombies, right? We are living on borrowed time, right? All humans are going to die. We're living in suboptimal conditions. When I was thinking about this, I was reminded of the words of, one of the leaders of the Black Panthers, Huey P. Newton, in his book Revolutionary Suicide, when he said, the first lesson a revolutionary must learn is that he's a doomed man, and not in a morbid way, right? But he was thinking about like, we have finite time, we have finite resources, we are up against forces that are not for us, right? That are actively trying to suppress the ways that we're trying to live, the world that we want to manifest. So what are you going to do with your time, right? And again, you and I are not dying in the next 2 hours or 2 days and being taken over by a mushroom fungal infection, but we are working in a world where there's a lot that we have to do to build the world that we want to see, and we have finite resources, we have finite time. How do you move knowing that you're a doomed person?
One thing I learned early on is by accepting the fact that all compounded things decay, everything passes, basically meditating upon the fact that, everything is impermanent. There is almost like a sense of freedom to be able to say, like, what do I want to do, right? With the time that I have. I may not have the quantity of all the time in the world, but I can make it quality. And I think it goes back to kind of those choice points that are deprived from us by systems of oppression. When we're able to make choices about how we live our lives, how we don't just survive, but how we thrive, right? I think that's kind of what I feel like many revolutionaries and thinkers since time immemorial have invited us to do with the limited time that we have.
Yeah. This is a spoiler. Like, you can just like skip forward 15, 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this, right? Phaedra and the Fireflies don't last forever in this world, right? And so, end of spoiler. When we think about making change, right, it's not necessarily that we're relying on institutions or organizations to make that change, right? I think about the words of Miriam Kaba when she talks about, hope being a discipline, right? Not necessarily relying on institutions or the organizations that we're creating or a part of to like be the end all be all of our movement work, but, staying faithful to our principles and our values, knowing that generations to come will feel the effects. And of course, thinking about, the principle of 7 generations from indigenous people across the world, specifically from the Haudenosaunee, and, in this case, thinking about the lessons and wisdom learned from people 3 generations for us to make decisions that will benefit people 3 generations to come, right, is really important when we're thinking about how we're spending our time, how we're allocating resources, not just for what is going to benefit us today, tomorrow, the next year, the next 10 years, right, but what is setting us up for long-term success, even if it's like beyond like the memory of the name David, beyond the memory of the name Kala, right? We have so much that we can contribute, and simultaneously holding like, how are we taking care of ourselves in the process? So, we're not burning out, spending every waking moment doing organizing work, right? Doing radical political education, not doing citizen protection at protests, right? Like doing that 24 hours isn't the thing to do either, right? But it is an invitation to make, again, really intentional, conscious choices about how to allocate time and resources and who to build with.